it's Destiny, and today we're going to be taking a look at the most recent tier list changes and just doing tier list review. And before we get into today's video, I'd love to know one of your favorite teams in Honkai Star Rail. Lastly, if you'd like to see more content from me, consider subscribing to the channel, leave a like to support today's video, and now let's begin. Here we have the latest Pride 1 tier list, which was recently updated only a couple of days ago, and if we take a look, there have been quite a lot of changes when it comes to the placements of characters from the last time we went over this tier list. Starting off at tier 0 here, we have some new characters that have jumped up, and we also have characters that have actually gone down. From the last time I recall, I believe Anaxa as well as Archer were both in tier 0 alongside characters like Castris, Finan, Hycillans, and so on, but now they are down in tier 0.5, which 0.5 is still a very good tier. This would still be considered the apex character category, which means that they would be considered the best of the best when it comes to a meta perspective. So overall, tier 0 and tier 0.5 will be the best, and then for the rest of the tier list, tier 1 to tier 2 would more so just be the meta characters, so still really good. Then for tier 3, tier 4, this would be off meta, and then tier 5 would be the forgotten ones, essentially the characters that don't really perform as well as they used to. As a result, they are down here in the tier list. I thought though we should start off with the new characters as well as the characters who received buffs. So Black Swan as well as Sparkle both received buffs in version 4.0, and as we can see, Black Swan is now tier 0 in MOC, Pure Fiction, and in APOC she's 0.5, which her buffs were really good when it comes to what she's able to provide for a damage over time team. You can take full advantage of the vulnerability debuff from her kit now, as before it would have to be during the enemy's turn that you can take advantage of this vulnerability debuff, but now you can just take advantage of this debuff at all times. You're also going to be able to stack Arcana at a faster rate, resulting in more damage output overall, and also her debuffs have a better uptime now on enemies, especially her defense reduction debuff, which allows characters like Kafka and Hycillans to heavily take advantage of this to deal more damage themselves. So overall, Black Swan got some amazing buffs, and of course she also has a partner tag, which means that she is only in tier 0 here if she is alongside her best team members, which would be a damage over time team, in this case Kafka as well as Hycillans. These three make a powerhouse of a team. We have Nova Flare buffs for Kafka, we got those a while back. Black Swan just got her new buffs, and then also in the case of Hycillans, she was a really strong addition for the damage over time team overall. So damage over time is looking pretty nice here with Kafka, Black Swan, and Hycillans. It is really cool to see damage over time also make a comeback with these Nova Flare buffs, so I'm really excited to see what other Nova Flare buffs we will get in the future as well. Now when it comes to Sparkle, her buffs are also amazing. I'm sure some could potentially argue for her to potentially go in the tier 0 placement, but tier 0.5 is still a very nice placement here for Sparkle. If I'm not mistaken, I also noticed that characters like Robin and Ruame, I believe, dropped to tier 1 now. I do wish it had the up arrows and down arrows, but I'm just trying to mainly remember where they were placed last time. But if I'm not mistaken, this tier 0.5 category did have at least one of these two, but now they're down in tier 1. And in tier 0.5 we have Cypher, Remembered Trailblazer, Yao Guang, Sparkle, and then the Dahlia. And when it comes to Sparkle, her buffs are also very handy as well. Now when you use her ultimate, you can store overflow skill points. You're going to be able to take advantage of her ultimate's buffs. Even if you already have maxed out skill points, you don't have to be worried about using her ultimate and then wasting the skill points you would gain, as Sparkle can now overflow these skill points. And Sparkle now has a stack mechanic called Figment, and with each stack it'll increase the damage taken by all enemies by 4%. This can stack up to 3 times, and the percentage of this effect can also increase depending on how many characters have Cypher. So overall, this will be very useful for further increasing the damage output of the entire team. Sparkle will also be able to increase all allies' attack by 45%, and also when an ally character holds the crit damage boost effect from her skill, their ult type res pen will increase as well. So they ended up changing one of her traces, which was Nocturne, into a more universal trace, allowing it to be utilized by more characters to take advantage of the additional attack now, as well as the ult type res pen. Another buff that I really like from Sparkle is that if an ally character consumes 3 or more skill points in a single turn, then her next use of her skill will not consume skill points, so allowing you to essentially use a free skill when you do use use her skill on an ally, and this is really handy in the case of if you're using her with characters that are able to consume multiple skill points in a single turn. For example, Archer, Sparxie, and so on. I also love Sparkle with Sparxie, a very strong synergy for sure. So Sparkle is definitely getting some more usage now with 4.0 as well. She was already really good for characters like Archer, and you can also use her as a general slot in other teams as well. But in the case of using her with Sparxie, she will be one of Sparxie's best partners on release due to her being able to give Sparxie more skill points so that Sparxie can further enhance her basic attacks, dealing more damage onto enemies. And then Sparxie can also nicely take advantage of all the other buffs that Sparkle provides as well. So overall, very nice synergy. Plus Sparkle is also free now thanks to the 5-star selector. So if you haven't picked a character from the 5-star selector yet and you don't have Sparkle at all, I would highly recommend you consider to pick up Sparkle due to her being an amazing option for not only Sparxie but also Archer. Archer is able to have a pretty strong free-to-play team if you were to use Archer, Sparkle, Remembrance Trailblazer, and then Don Hung. So I'm personally very happy with Sparkle's buffs. I do feel like they did a great job improving her kits, and I definitely felt a huge difference with pre-buffed Sparkle and now with buffed Sparkle when it comes to what she's able to provide for a team. So overall, I can definitely agree with Sparkle being in this Apex character category. I'm really curious if you all would say she should be tier 0 or if you feel like she should be 0.5. And when it comes to Yao Guang and Sparxie, so they both have this eye on them, which means that they could potentially go up in the future depending on how they shape up in the meta overall. I could definitely see both of these characters potentially going into the tier 0 range as we get more Elation characters, or even when Sparxie comes out, if we discover more cool things with their teams that could potentially push them to tier 0 here. Yao Guang and Sparxie though are already a pretty powerful duo, I would say. In the case of Yao Guang, she is going to be a very nice supportive option that can also deal some pretty nice damage with her Elation skill. Yao Guang is going to be able to provide Elation specific buffs as well as some general buffs. When it comes to her Elation specific buffs, this would be being able to boost the Elation of all allies on the team with her skill. This will be very useful for future Elation characters as well as of course Sparxie. They can nicely take advantage of this to just deal more Elation damage overall. Yao Guang is also going to be able to increase the frequency of AHA instant triggering thanks to her ultimate. With her ultimate, she'll be able to trigger AHA instant, and AHA will have 20 fixed punchline, and this punchline will not be consumed. So this will just allow you to have another 20 punchline or certified banger stored for your characters, which the more punchline stored, the higher the Elation damage dealt by your Elation characters. And the Elation skills from AHA instant can deal really nice damage output overall. I have showcased Yao Guang and Sparxie before on the channel, and their Elation skills definitely pack a punch with how much damage they're able to deal. So being able to trigger AHA instant more frequently with Yao Guang allows you to take advantage of their Elation skills more frequently. Also, this can assist with the uptime of certified banger, which certified banger is very important to have on your Elation characters. This essentially unlocks another portion of their kits. In the case of Yao Guang, this will allow you to take advantage of the Great Boon effect, which will be useful for allowing the team to deal even more damage onto enemies. And in the case of Sparxie, this will allow her enhanced basic attack as well as her ultimate to also deal fire Elation damage. This will be a huge portion of Sparxie's damage output as well. So because of that, having the certified banger state on your Elation characters at all times is very important for their damage output. And with Yao Guang being able to trigger AHA instant more frequently, this can assist with the uptime of the certified banger state for your Elation characters. Yao Guang also has some other debuffing and buffing capabilities. She's going to be able to increase the ult-type res pen of all allies on the team, which every character can nicely take advantage of this. And then when it comes to her debuffing, when she uses her Elation skill, she'll inflict the Woe's Whisper debuff onto enemies, which is a 16% vulnerability debuff, and the entire team can also nicely take advantage of this to deal more damage onto enemies overall. Yao Guang once again is also going to be able to deal some nice damage output herself, especially with her Elation skill, and Sparxie will also be able to deal a bunch of damage with her Elation skill, her ultimate, and then of course her enhanced basic attacks. So I believe once we either get Sparxie's release or once we get more Elation characters, I could definitely see these two potentially going into the tier 0 placement. In the case of Sparxie, she will be a powerful damage dealer on her release. She also has the potential of becoming a sub DPS in the future, which kind of reminds me sort of Evernight, how Evernight could be used as a main DPS or a sub DPS. And in the case of being a sub DPS, this is mainly in reference to her with Castris. So in the case of Sparxie, she could potentially go this path. So overall, I'm really excited to see where both of these two characters characters end up, if they will just remain in 0.5 or if they'll even go up to tier 0. In the case of Yao Guang though, she can also be utilized with some other characters as well. For example, Archer. Archer is going to be able to nicely take advantage of the ult-type res pen, the vulnerability debuff from Yao Guang's Elation skill, and Yao Guang's Elation skill will also be able to restore 1 skill point for the team. So Archer as well as Sparxie can both nicely take advantage of this. And then of course, Archer can also nicely take advantage of the great boon effect from Yao Guang as well. But yeah, I'd love to know all of your thoughts on Yao Guang as well as Sparxie. And that would basically be it for the new characters. I would also love to know, how do you all feel about Archer dropping on the tier list to 0.5 as well as Anaxa? Do you feel like they should have remained in tier 0, or do you think 0.5 is perfectly fine? Which once again, these two tiers are the best of the best, but I'd love to know what you all think. I was a little surprised to see Archer drop due to the fact that we did just get the sparkle buffs. So because of that, I would have expected him to potentially stay where he is a little bit longer. I'm very excited to see honestly how the tier list will shape up, either when Sparxie comes out or once we get 4.1. 4.1 we're going to get Asheville, so really excited about that as well. And a lot of characters have gone down. I believe Himiko has potentially gone up for Pure Fiction and APOC, which I've been saying this for a while now, especially with the Dahlia's release. I was like, please bring up Himiko somewhere. I need Himiko to increase somewhere just because of the fact that she can nicely benefit from the Dahlia's kit. And I'm not too sure if she was already at these placements before, but regardless, I am happy to see that in Pure Fiction as well as APOC, she's in that tier 1/tier 1.5 range. Really cool to see that. And then for our sustains, we have Don Hung and Hyacinth at the top, which I'm not too surprised about that. I'm really curious when we get an Elation sustain, if we do end up getting one, how that might shift the sustain tier list, or if it'll just be Don Hung, Hyacinth, and that new Elation sustain. I'm also really interested to see what characters will get Nova Flare buffs next. If I had to personally pick a few I would love to get Nova Flare buffs, it would be Zila. I would like Nova Flare buffs for Jing Yuan. Zila and Jing Yuan were the very first 2 limited character banners in Honkai Star Rail, so I'd love to see them get some love with a Nova Flare buff. Don Hong would be really cool to see, honestly. I'd also love it if we got Nova Flare buffs for the standard characters. I don't know if that will ever happen, but it would be really nice. Like imagine a Himiko buff, or imagine a Welt buff, or a Yanqing buff. Like yeah, Yanqing, can we please give him a buff? He's been down here for so long. Can we please give him a buff? How do you think the Elation meta will shape up? And also, how do you feel about the Black Swan buffs, the Sparkle buffs? Also, your thoughts on the characters in tier 0. I just love to know all of your opinions. And yeah, that'll be it for today's video. If you did enjoy, do make sure to subscribe, leave a like to support today's video, and I hope to see you all next time. Peace.